Hey guys, Welsknight here, and welcome back to another episode of Kingdoms. And in true Kingdoms tradition, the moment that I hit the record button, it starts to become night. Why does this always happen to me? I don't understand. This... you gotta love it. Anyway, last episode, we finished the walls to the Kingdom of Nimbania, which means we're actually getting like pretty close to having this done. So there's a few things that still need to be finished first. As far as just kind of the basic infrastructure goes, we need to finish out the roads, which should be pretty easy. We're going to have one road right here that leads out of the city. And someone mentioned in the comments this little hill right here. This is going to get cleaned up, but that'll be done later. The road that actually leads out of Nimbania and goes probably off in that direction. This hill will get peeled back just a little bit, probably to about like here or so, to kind of make room for the road, because right now it's like right up in your face. But yeah, that will definitely happen. It's just kind of one of those things that will be done towards the end, like a lot of the little minor things that have been driving people crazy since like I started working on this kingdom. Like the fact that there's no texture variation in this, or the fact that like half the ground is stone and half of it's grass, you know, things like that. Those will all be done later. Then there's this road, which is going to go off in this direction, kind of going all the way up to the wall over there. And then I think this road here, yeah, this needs to come up as well, probably to about here. Is what I think. Like here-ish is what I would say. Give or take. And then maybe it'll run into some sort of maybe small structure here or something. I think we're going to put a park in just a very small little one, a couple of trees in this little area that I'm standing in right now. Oh, hello, Mr. Zombie. Hi. Go away, please. Thank you. Over here, this I think is going to be like a little mini market with a couple of vendors. You know, those little like market stalls that I like to do every now and again. And then we're basically just going to have a whole bunch of buildings, whole bunch of structures, you know, different houses kind of going along here, a couple over here, and probably like one like right in the middle here. So honestly, we're getting pretty close. We're actually getting somewhere with this kingdom, and that feels very, very great. It really does. Let me just jump into Spectator here so I can give you kind of an overview of the whole thing. This is Nimbania. So straight below us, houses. More houses. Clouds are in my way. Little park right down in here. Vendor stalls right in here. More houses right in there. And then I think we just need one itty bitty little house like right here. And then it's just a lot of like trees and detail work, right? Landscaping, detail work. This definitely needs to be cleaned up a bit. This pathway that leads up to the giant manor thing up here, but like it's getting there. We're very, very close, and we obviously need some sort of centerpiece in the middle of the town square as well. That also needs to be a thing. So anyway, I think what I'm gonna do is get to work on the roads first and then start putting down some houses, and I'll catch up with you shortly. All right guys, I am back. Check it out. All these roads are done. Well, actually, I think we did the roads on camera, but I've got a house built here, a house built here, and a third house built over here, just a little itty bitty one, just right over here. So it's coming together. I also went ahead and kind of filled this in to make it nice and flat so we can put a bunch of structures and buildings along this road here. We're going to have to do it in such a way that we're going to need to mix it up a little bit, I think. So I'm going to kind of work on that. But progress is being made. Like, we're getting there. These houses are pretty bog standard for, that was accidental, are pretty standard at this point for Nimbania. You know, these are, I think once you build a house, like or you build in a style enough times, like you can basically just do it blindfolded. And that's kind of where I'm at with these houses at this point. Like, the style is so established for me, like, in my brain, that I don't even really have to think about them. I just, plop down the blocks and there's a house. Done. Boom. So that's kind of what we're doing. At this point, it's basically this strip of land right here, going all the way up into the corner. And then like one building, probably like one larger building, or maybe like two smaller, like two kind of mid-sized buildings, one facing that way and one facing this way. But along this road, like it's this little patch of land and then this patch of land, this big long strip of land right here. And that's basically it for buildings in Nimbania. Everything else after that is just like landscaping, detail work, cleaning things up, kind of quote unquote finishing touches, shall we say. Finishing touches, I should probably mention, that's not going to be something that's done in one episode. There's a lot of finishing touches and a lot of landscaping and a lot of detail work that still needs to be done. But we're really close. Like, I think if we actually look at the amount of space that's over here, this is probably like 4 to 5 buildings, depending on how big I make them and how I design them, to go along here. And then this is like 1 or 2. So we're talking probably somewhere between 5 and 8 structures, I would say, depending on how I end up ultimately making them. If you think about that in the grand scheme, like, that is nothing. Like, we're getting there, and that sure feels really nice to say. One thing I do want to do together is this hillside right here. I want to just kind of bring this over a bit. You can actually be stone. That's fine. And also, I should peek. Is there anything spawnable back here? Oh yeah, there totally is. Okay. I'll just put a couple torches in here because, I don't like it when mob sounds are coming from my walls. It kind of annoys me. But we're just going to keep this very, very simple. And I think it's totally fine for us to actually cover up the road like this, because we need a way for the road to actually like come to sort of a natural end, if that makes sense. There we go. Do one of those. You go here. And boom. And boom. Okay. Something along those lines. Like, that looks natural, at least from like a Minecraft perspective, right? Like, this looks like it could have been natural Minecraft terrain generation. And we'll get rid of that one too, actually. Yeah, that's better. And I think that's like, actually, you know what? I think I changed my mind. We're going to make this grass, like so. Yeah, that's much better. Okay. So anyway, we've got that hole patched up, and that's just one example. There are going to be a ton of holes like that, kind of all throughout Nimbania, that need to be patched up in some way, shape, or form, cleaned up. All these patches of stone and all that kind of stuff. That's all going to have to be dealt with before Nimbania is truly finished. But houses and other buildings just going along here. Oh, and the central square. This needs to be done as well. And actually, I've come up with kind of an idea for this. I think what I'm going to want to do is count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then basically drop all of this down a block, just so there's a little bit of elevation change between the path and the central square. I think that'll look a bit better. And I can't remember if we did that in Regnum or not. We may have. I don't remember. Either way, houses and other structures along this strip, I think, is what I'm going to work on next. So I'm gonna get to it. All right, guys, I'm back. All of these houses and buildings and structures that are gonna go along this little strip of land have been laid out and basically framed out as well. I've got the frames of the houses done. And there's some very minor variations among them. You'll notice that some of them are done with dark oak logs and some of them are done with spruce logs. That's intentional. Obviously some of them are taller than others. They have a little bit different shapes, etc., etc., etc. So I think every time it never fails. You press the record button and the sun magically moves forward several hours in the sky, and it is time to sleep. It's a conspiracy. Anyway, so what's next is I need to go through all of these individual houses. This one right here, I think what we're gonna do, this is actually gonna be like a divided house, right? So I think what we'll do is say this middle bit is the door, right? But basically what we just need to do is for all of these, just go through, do the whole window, you know, this whole little bit that we've done. We're gonna go through like all the spruce stairs right here. It's gonna take a while, and that's fine. Some of these are gonna be a little bit different, like right here, for example. This is gonna be a door, but then this house, on the first floor at least, the windows are all gonna be too high, just to add, you know, a little bit of a variation, just make it look a little bit different than some of the other ones. And then some of these I'm gonna have to get scaffolding because, like, I can't reach that high. Not quite. I can almost reach that high, but I can't quite reach that high. So I'm gonna have to find a way to get up there. I think for this one, yeah, we said we we're gonna put the door here so we can just kind of fill in the rest. I'm not gonna do like literally all of this on camera, obviously, but let's figure out where we want to put the doors on all of these. This one's just a pretty straightforward house. So I think here, this is going to be our doorway. So we'll just mark that by filling in these little bits here. And then for this one, I think right here is our doorway. And then the rest of this is kind of a weird house as it is, just because it's built on like an angle, or it's built on multiple elevations. So it's a little weird to work with, but that not necessarily in a bad way. I think there's some nice potential here. Also, I think I want to take this grass over a little bit, just to make it look a little bit better. But anyway, so there's that one. And then last but not least, this one's easy. We'll just put the door right here and fill in the rest. So yeah, got all that done. I need to get all the windows in, and then I need to get all the roofs and stuff done as well. And then basically all of these houses and stuff are finished. All right, guys, I am back. Look at this. Is it not beautiful? We're flying up in the sky in spectator mode, if you haven't already figured that out. Look at this. It's looking great. And I've decided that I think that's all the buildings that I'm going to put in here. I've thought of some other ideas to do for these little patches of land that don't actually have a building in them. But I think it's looking great. Like, if you look at it from up above, we have like a proper little city here. Or a proper little kingdom, or whatever you want to call it, which we're actually going to talk about in just a minute. But anyway, let me jump back into survival. Here we go. And we'll take a little bit of a closer look at these, what is this, five houses that we built. So right here, this is a little kind of duplex type one. This wall would be filled in if I was actually doing interiors for literally any of these, but I'm not, because I'm not doing interiors for any of these. It's that simple. Here, ooh, actually there's one thing we need to do here. We're just gonna put a block there and a block there. There we go. Just to fill those holes in. But this one's kind of a 2-story house, or actually almost like a 3-story house, with a little bit here that kind of sticks out, which I think is quite nice. This is kind of our bog standard, and then we've got a couple more kind of coming along here, little itty bitty houses and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's fine. I think it looks great. And we've got down here, I did a little bit with the terrain, not much. I will be doing significantly more with the terrain in coming episodes. So let's actually jump into the comment of the day. And I'm actually doing 2 of them. I'm actually doing like a comment thread for this one. So the original comment said, "Not gonna lie, I love the build, but it's not really a kingdom. You've just built a very good looking city with nothing around it. I don't know if you plan on doing stuff like that, but I think enhancing the surrounding landscape, sort of like BWO does, would make the city into a proper kingdom in my opinion." And that was the Mersus, probably butchered the pronunciation of that, but that's okay. And then Duboy replied and said he calls the, I think I actually typed that in wrong. He calls the cities kingdoms. I don't know why, but when he talks about a kingdom, he means the city. But I would like seeing him do that. So basically, to sum up the whole thing in a nutshell, is these aren't technically really kingdoms, they're just cities. So I want to talk a little bit about how I personally define a kingdom for the purposes of this series. Because obviously, in real life, a kingdom would be much, much, much bigger. The way that I define a kingdom for the purposes of this vanilla Minecraft series kingdoms is an area with a common architectural style. So it's not necessarily just the city, but it's also not necessarily the city and everything around it. It's the kingdom. The way that I look at a kingdom is it's a kingdom with a certain type of build style, right? And I don't mean like a medieval build, because that would be like literally everything in kingdoms for the most part, but like this kind of block palette, right? With like the dark prismarine roof and the windows and stuff. This style right here, I could build a whole bunch more houses like this off there, and they'd all still be, in my mind, part of the same kingdom. Or if you look at like Woodsong over in this direction, if we go look at Woodsong would still potentially be, its own kingdom. And there's not really like borders, but anything else that I would build in this sort of style that's kind of somewhere within this general area, I would consider to be part of the kingdom of Woodsong. And yes, you could also say that I do care a little bit about the landscaping. There are some spots where I have done a lot of landscaping, and there are some parts where I really haven't done much. I haven't really done a whole lot of landscaping and like connecting up the kingdoms and working on the surrounding countryside and stuff in this season of Kingdoms, but I did a fair amount of it I did some of it in season 1. The thing is, I like everything to be fairly close to each other. So it's kind of like how do you put this? There are some points where you have to kind of suspend your disbelief, right? Suspension of disbelief. It's this idea that even though something is not really the case, you sort of suspend your disbelief. You just kind of ignore it for the purposes of being entertained or whatever it may be, right? Like you watch a movie and the Hollywood action hero takes out 30 guys with nothing but a rubber chicken and a pool ball, an 8-ball. He takes out 30 guys with a rubber chicken and 8-ball, right? Is that realistic? No, not in the slightest. But you suspend your disbelief because it's entertaining. I kind of do the same thing here in Kingdoms. In real life, you would never have kingdoms. You would never have stuff that's this close together, right? Like, you would be much farther away than this. In reality, let's see. We know that one block in Minecraft is roughly a meter, right? Because we can tell by like looking at a door. A door is roughly 6 feet tall, or 2 meters tall, give or take. And that's 2 blocks. So we know that one block is roughly 1 square meter. So if we look from here, right, and we fly off in this direction and get to Nimbania, that's what, maybe 400 meters-ish, give or take? That's like a quarter of a mile. You would never see two major cities that are that close together. They would not be considered separate cities. They would be considered the same city. But because I don't particularly think anyone would enjoy spending literal days walking from one city that is realistically placed next to another city that is realistically placed, I put them closer together. You know what I mean? It's a suspension of disbelief thing. So when I say this is a kingdom, what I'm really talking about is this is our area where we are building in X style, right? In this style, in a Asian, sort of like ancient Japanese style, or a Greco-Roman style, or, whatever. That's kind of what I'm talking about. That's how I define kingdoms. I think of them as areas that are defined by their unique architectural style. For the purposes of this series, a kingdom is a region with whatever style it is. It's our place to build in that way. So, yeah, there you go. I know they're not technically kingdoms, but, suspension of disbelief, as I said. Anyway, guys, I think that is going to do it for today's episode. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Links in the description below, so check that out as well. Otherwise, my friends, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.